Hello there, my name is Diana Kolesnik and now we will unveil the top news of recent days. Russian drone on NATO territory. The wreckage of a drone was found in Romania near the border with Ukraine. The elements were found on agricultural land on the island of Velika Brela. CNN Antenna 3 says the wreckage was found 12 kilometers from the city of Brela. According to the report, the fall of the drone was accompanied by a long bang and happened a little after midnight. Hearing the sound, the locals came out of their houses and called the emergency services. The area was soon surrounded by police and investigators. According to sources, it was a Russian drone that was supposed to attack Ukrainian ports on the Danube, and most likely the GPS guidance system failed it. This is at least the fifth incident involving the downing of drones on Romanian territory as Russia attacks Ukrainian ports on the Danube. NATO and Romanian officials have said after similar incidents in the past that they have found no evidence of any deliberate attack targeting Romania. In addition, 2 cruise missiles entered Moldova's airspace that night.
Last night, the Kanevska and Dnistrovska HPPs became the conscious targets of the enemy. The terrorist country wants a repeat of the ecological disaster in the Kherson region. But now, not only Ukraine is under threat, but also Moldova. The water will not stop in front of the border posts, just as the Russian war will not stop if it is not stopped together and in time in Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky, President of Ukraine, on Telegram.
I remind you that last week a Russian missile also only flew into the territory of Poland for 39 seconds. Then the Polish command assured that the military knew that the Russian missile would return to Ukraine and that is why they did not shoot it down. According to the spokesman of the Operational Command of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Yatsy Goryshavsky, an attempt to shoot down the missile would pose a greater risk to local residents. After all, the rocket weighs more than 2 tons, of which 400 kilograms is the combat load. After the missile is shot down, its debris will fall on Polish territory. The remnants of the rockets, which could have been used to shoot down the missile itself, would also fall here, he said. However, tonight, Poland again raised its own and allied planes into the air against the background of the activity of long-range aviation of the Russian Federation, which inflicted a massive blow on Ukraine. Earlier, Polish Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Andrzej Sheina said on RMF-FM that NATO was considering the option of shooting down Russian missiles when they fly towards the territory of the North Atlantic Alliance. NATO is analyzing different concepts, in particular that such missiles should be shot down when they are already very close to the NATO border. But this should happen with the consent of the Ukrainian side and taking into account the international consequences. The NATO missiles would hit Russian missiles outside the territory of the alliance treaty. Well, at the beginning of the invasion, we asked NATO to close the sky over Ukraine. When will that time come? Ukrainian-Polish governmental consultations took place in Warsaw. Prime Minister of Ukraine Denis Shmyhal reported that the government teams of both states discussed such complex topics as the situation at the border and trade in the agricultural sector, and also determined the direction of solving these issues. Also, parties confirmed their continued efforts to put in place effective measures to block imports of agricultural products from Russia and Belarus to the EU market as a necessary tool to remove pressure on the EU agricultural markets.
We invited Poland to join our efforts on the issue of banning Russian and Belarusian agricultural exports to the EU. We are grateful to the Polish government, grateful to the Polish Sejm, who accepted the corresponding call to the European Commission. The initiative was also supported by the Ministers of Agriculture of Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia and the Czech Republic. Our voice was heard in Brussels. The European Commission proposed increasing the duty by 50% on agricultural products from Russia and Belarus, in particular on grain imports. The new rates should effectively stop trading. We expect such a decision to be made by the EU Council in the near future. That could explode our friendship, our solidarity, our cooperation, especially in the face of a common threat, which is Russia's aggression against Ukraine and Russia's aggressive policy towards the European Union and the entire West. It should be clear to everyone in Poland, Ukraine and the world that no one and nothing will undermine the solidarity and friendship between us.
Also, countries reaffirmed their readiness to actively cooperate in the process of reconstruction of Ukraine and stressed that the accession of Ukraine to the EU and NATO is in the vital interest of both countries, with an understanding that Ukraine's security is integral to European security. Trade, infrastructure projects and reconstruction, energy and European integration were also discussed during the Ukrainian-Polish government consultations. Ukraine submitted its proposals regarding, in particular, the construction of the Krakowicz-Lviv-Brody-Rivne highway, in which Polish business is also interested. In addition, the Ukrainian side hopes for Poland's participation in the reconstruction of Ukraine. Denis Shmyhal thanked the Polish partners for the initiative to participate in the restoration of the Kharkiv region, which suffered a lot due to massive Russian terror. Poland helps us to stabilize the energy system by importing electricity to Ukraine, said Denis Shmyhal. According to him, a good example of deepening the integration of the Ukrainian energy system with the European one is the construction of the power transmission line Khmelnytska nuclear power plant, Rzeszów. Separately, Denis Shmyhal emphasized that Poland supports our country in its European integration aspirations. But the most important thing is, of course, the blockade of the border. Shmyhal informed about the draft agreements on the need to introduce joint control at border checkpoints and the implementation of the Customs Information Exchange project. It was also proposed to create an anti-crisis headquarters in order to resolve the situation on the Ukrainian border. Work is already underway between the ministers of both countries, in which agricultural associations also participate. Free passage of not only ammunition and humanitarian aid, but also fuel across the border is important for Ukraine. All this is now critically important for the defense of Ukraine. The Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Alexander Syrskii, gave a long interview to the state news agency Ukrinform. And I want to speak today about this thesis that the general voiced. In my opinion, the most important thing is Ukrainian tactics for the near future. According to Syrskii, our goal is to exhaust the enemy as much as possible, inflict the greatest possible losses on them, form and prepare reserves for offensive actions. Especially since the Russians are now trying to reach the borders of Donetsk and Luhansk regions at any cost. And that is why the situation at the front is difficult. But according to Syrskii, we are not only on the defensive, but in some places we are moving forward. And this despite the fact that currently the enemy's advantage in terms of shells is about 6-1. At the same time, the defense forces of Ukraine continue to keep key heights and defense areas under control. Of course, Alexander Syrskii thanked our partners for the help. However, he said that Ukraine needs more and faster. We couldn't achieve more success during the Kharkiv offensive because we did not have enough resources. Yes, we are building up our own defense industrial complex, and if Europeans are involved in its development, the problem of ammunition shortages will be solved. And where it is possible to equalize the situation with regard to artillery, the situation is stabilizing.
The most valuable thing that our armed forces have is people. Our task is to protect their lives and at the same time inflict maximum losses on the enemy. The implementation of this principle requires maintaining a balance between the execution of combat mission and the restoration of military formation and units. Our people are heroes, but their powers are not limitless. They also need recovery and rest. Alexander Syrskii, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, in an interview with Ukrinform.
Today, the process of rotating military units on the front line has already been launched, which allows us to fully restore the combat capability of not only equipment, but first of all, to ensure rest and recovery of our servicemen, Syrskii said. For example, earlier, the 110th Separate Mechanized Brigade, which actively defended Avdiivka for 2 years, announced its departure for rotation. During the fighting for Avdiivka, the Russian invaders lost more than 47,000 people in butchery assaults, and the Russians will use this tactic again and again. That concludes today's video. Thank you for watching. Stay updated. Comment, like and subscribe to our UATV English channel for more news from Ukraine. Your support really matters. Goodbye.